Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Fluffal Yugioh deck profile for post Rise of the Duelist. With the release of the latest Yu-Gi-Oh booster set, we've been given a pretty big amount of Fluffal support to definitely, increase the overall consistency of the Fluffal deck. And usually, with the release of Fluffal and Frightful cards we've had lately, we usually get, one or two cards to help support this deck. But with Rise of the Duelist, we've been given 5 new cards, including, new Fluffal, Imp, and Frightful support, along with new spell and trap support to overall make the deck that much more consistent with its main playstyle, which is to fusion summon out a bunch of different Frightful monsters using the cute Fluffals and the scary Imp monsters with all the support we have available throughout the years. For the Fluffals, I'm definitely happy with the new, result we have for the deck profile. So let's go ahead and get started with the video. For the Fluffal Monsters, I am running 3 of the new Fluffal Dolphin. You can target 1 toy vendor in your graveyard and set it. If you do, send 1 Fluffal Monster or 1 Imp Sabers from your deck to the graveyard. If this card is sent to the graveyard as fusion material for a fusion summon, you can shuffle this card into the deck 1 of your fusion spells or polymerization spells that is banished or in your graveyard. You can only use each effect of Fluffal Dolphin once per turn. So not only does it easily set up more Fluffal Monsters in your graveyard for you to use, including Fluffal Wings or Imp Sabers, it just gives you more and more options for you to also set up toy vendor, reusing it on the field after you send it for Fluffal Wings, and then having that option to reuse it for its own effect as well. Fluffal Dolphin really adds to the overall playstyle of the deck, and the fact that it is a level 4 water monster just makes it all the better because we can go for our Bahamut Shark play into our Totally Awesome as well, with Master Rule 5 not limiting us for our extra monster zone, and then also just being able to summon out all of our different Frightful fusions into the main monster zone without having to rely on the extra monster zone. And sticking to some of the original Fluffals, I'm still running the 3 Fluffal Bear, while Fluffal Dolphin helps to, just set up the, toy vendor from the graveyard. You can use Fluffal Bear to send this card from your hand to the graveyard to set 1 toy vendor directly from your deck. So your opponent can't Ash Blossom this card, doesn't add to the hand, it sets it onto the field, and then being able to tribute it to re-add a polymerization back to your hand from the graveyard means that Fluffal Dolphin and this card just, coincide to work for the overall playstyle of recycling polymerization, whether it's back to your hand or into the deck, and then setting up toy vendor, whether it be from the graveyard to the field or the deck to the field. So you definitely want 3 numbers of all these because they help to support the main playstyle of the Fluffal deck using all your different spell cards. And for more special summoning power and discard power, I run 3 Fluffal Penguin. This one, excuse the foreign ones, this is actually my girlfriend's deck that she helped and let me use for the deck profile, but her foreign ones, the overall playstyle with Fluffal Penguins is just an easy special summon from the hand, and also the discard draw power, relying on this card also for its level 4 water attribute as the other card to use with Fluffal Dolphin to overlay into your Bahamut Shark, making it all the better. I'm sure they knew the playstyle that would come in handy with this, making it all the better since you have 2 level 4 monsters now to use for your Bahamut Shark play. And I have 2 Fluffal Dog in here, but I definitely do want to run 3 just for its search power as well. So I have 1 Fluffal Octopus just in here for the filler spot with Fluffal Dog. When this card is normal or special summon, you can, from the hand, you can add 1 Imp Sabers or Fluffal Monster from your deck to your hand, except for Fluffal Dog. You can only use this effect of Fluffal Dog once per turn. Being able to search out Fluffal Dolphin or even, Fluffal Bear makes it that much easier with your Fluffal Dog. And also the fact that it can be special summoned from the hand as well. So if you special summon Fluffal Dog from toy vendor, you'll get the effect to special summon this card and add a card from your deck to your hand, which you'll see with a lot of different Fluffal monsters. If it says special summon from the hand, it means it's going off of the fact that you will use toy vendor to summon it out. And then for more draw power, I also run the 3 Fluffal Wings, along with you just being able to set this card up that much faster in the graveyard with Fluffal Dolphin. This card is just there for the draw power of the deck, being able to use it for the banish effect. If it's in your graveyard, you control toy vendor, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 Fluffal monster in your graveyard, banish it. If you do, draw 1 card. Then you can send 1 toy vendor you control to the graveyard, and if you do, draw 1 card. So the draw 2, along with the toy vendor effect, which we'll get to, with Toy Vendor giving you an additional search, makes it all the better with this card for its setup, because you're going to invest a lot of your cards for your draw power in the deck, so you want more and more draw power to have after you've used so many cards with polymerization and your fusion plays, to invest in those plays but still have hand consistency to use against your opponent. And I also run one Fluffal Owl and one Fluffal Cat. They both just have search power for polymerization and recycle power for it when used for a fusion summon, or just when it's normal or special summon from the hand in the case of Fluffal Owl. Or if you just need to go for that fusion play, Fluffal Owl allows you to use 500 life points to fusion summon one Fright for Fusion from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field. All the better, and both searchable with other cards in the deck for that setup. And that's it for the Fluffal Monsters. For the Imp Monsters, I am running 3 of the new Imp Scythe. This one just helps for the setup that it was meant to do, basically. This card, during your opponent's main phase, quick effect, you can reveal this card in your hand. Fusion summon one Fright for Fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material, including this card in your hand. If a Fright for a Fusion monster you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead, and you can only use each effect of Imp Scythe once per turn. So the main play, which we'll get to, will be the Fright for a Cruel Whale with this card for that fusion summon, and then just destroying one card on both players' field means you can destroy the Toy Vendor, or you can even just destroy one of your opponent's cards during their turn using your Imp Scythe. It gives you another fusion option during your opponent's turn to rely on. It's sort of like the super polymerization play for Fluffals that gives you more destruction power also. For some of the other Edge Imp cards, I'm still running the 3 Edge Imp Chain, just being a great search power when it attacks, but also if it's sent from the hand or field to the graveyard, you can add one Fright for a card from your deck to your hand. So sending it with Toy Vendor for the draw setup makes it all the better, because then you'll get the Fright for Search along with the Toy Vendor special summon. And I only run the 1 Edge Imp Sabers, and that is because you can set this card up with your Fluffal Dolphin, and once it is set up in the graveyard, you can just easily recycle it that many more times back onto the field by putting cards on the top of the deck, which then work with Toy Vendor as well for the discard, draw, and reveal the top card of your deck. And if it's a Fluffal monster, special summoning it. So being able to put cards like Fluffal Owl, Fluffal Dog, or even just, Fluffal Dolphin to special summon out, make it all the more powerful of a card to use. The biggest weakness is if your opponent calls by the Graveit, but most of the time if that happens, you have other monsters to rely on, like Fluffal Wings, which they should have hit. And that is it for the monsters. I really do love the pure version of just Fluffals and Fretfurs in the deck. It makes it all the better. For the spell cards, I run 3 Polymerization, your go-to fusion spell for all of your plays. It's searchable with a good number of cards in the deck. It's recyclable with, Fluffal Dolphin, which we've already spoke of, including Fluffal Bear. Also for the search power, so 3 of it is really all you need. And with one of our other spells also being able to search it, there's a guarantee that most of the time you will have this card in your hand to use. But the other important spell in the deck is Toy Vendor, which we are running 3 of. Once per turn, you can discard one card to draw one card, show it to your opponent, and then if it is a Fluffal monster, special summon it, one monster from your hand, otherwise discard the card you drew. So with this discard special summon, you can special summon a lot of different Fluffal monsters to the field to then use as well. And then when this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add 1 Edge Imp Sabers or a Fluffal monster from your deck to your hand. Doesn't even have to be from the field for that if it's just sent to the graveyard. So even a Foolish Burial Good Send will give you that additional search for you to use. So having that set up on the field back to use for Fluffal Wing makes it all the better as well. And I also run 3 of the Fright for Patchwork. We've waited so long to have this card, and now we have it available in foil thanks to the dual power set. Add 1 Edge Imp monster and 1 Polymerization from your deck to your hand. You can only activate 1 Fright for Patchwork per turn, but imagine just being able to get the Polymerization and then search out the Edge Imp Scythe. So you have the fusion spell for your turn and the fusion monster for your opponent's turn to use. So very, very scary all together depending on what Fright for card you get out. But having this card as the search power makes it all the better. It's just an additional plus for this whole deck. And for some of the one-ofs, I run 1 Fright for Fusion for the, basically the Miracle Fusion for Fright Furs, being able to use your graveyard as well as your field for the play. I run 1 Fright for Reborn, just an easy special summon of all your different Fright Fur cards in the graveyard. And except the turn it was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one of your banished Fluffal or Fright for monsters and return it to the graveyard, and so more recycle power. And I also run 1 Fright for Repair. I only run run 1 because you can set it up in the graveyard with our next spell card as well. You target 1 Frightfur Fusion monster in your graveyard, return it to the extra deck, then you can special summon 1 Fluffal or Imp monster from your graveyard, and then you can banish this card from your graveyard to special summon 1 Fluffal or Imp monster from your hand. You can only use 1 Frightfur repair effect per turn, and only once that turn. So with that graveyard setup, or just the recycle power of your fusions, you have all the options available to you, but you really only need one of this since you can only use 1 effect per turn. It's situational depending on what you want to use it for. And like I said, with this spell, which is Foolish Burial Goods, being able to set it up in the graveyard for that second spell effect makes it all the better for the search, and it comes in handy just when you open up as well. And then for the only trap we are running in the deck, I run 1 Frightfur Jar. This card's name becomes Toy Vendor while on the field or in the graveyard. Once per turn, you can discard 1 card, draw 1 card, and show it. And then if it is an Imp monster, you can destroy 1 card on the field. Otherwise, place 1 card from your hand on the top or bottom of the deck. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, half its attack until the end of turn. So being able to half that attack of your opponent's monster means that you can easily hit it with some of your other ones, but more of the setup with Toy Vendor working for a good amount of the Fluffal Monsters. Frightfur Jar works in the same sense, also counting as Toy Vendor, all the better for that setup and being able to recycle it once again with cards like Fluffal Dolphin, since it counts as Toy Vendor in the graveyard. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. I run 2 of the new Frightfur Cruel Whale. What's awesome with all these Frightfur cards is they were all common in this set, making it that much easier for people who have the Fluffal deck to put this deck together with all of the new support. If this card is Fusion Summon, you can destroy 1 card on both players' field. And once per turn, quick effect, you can target 1 fusion monster you control, send 1 Frightfur card from your deck or extra deck to the graveyard, except for Cruel Whale, and if you do, the target monster gains attack equal to half of the original attack until the end of this turn. So that much more of a power boost works very well with Frightfur Jar, and then just being able to destroy cards means you can have the Toy Vendor setup, or just, setting up more Edgems in your graveyard to use, as well as taking out one of your opponent's cards, and the fact that you can do it on your opponent's turn with cards like Edgem Scythe to rely on make it all the scarier also. For some of the older Frightfur cards, I still run the 2 Frightfur Tiger. For the destruction plays this card can do, it makes it all the scarier when you combo it with Frightfur Wolf. The same with the send power of Frightfur Kraken. Once per turn, being able to target a monster your opponent controls and sends it to the graveyard, gets around being destroyed by card effects, and then also just being able to switch it to defense after the second attack during each battle phase. For a more defensive play, having 3,000 defense, and just needing an Edgemp and 1 Fluffal monster to make it means you can also summon this card out with Scythe for a more defensive play against your opponent. And I also run 2 Frightfur Sabertooth with this one. Once again, defensive plays. If you have your setup on Frightfur monsters on the field, being able to use Scythe to make this card means you have an easy defense against your opponent, giving you a special summon of another Frightfur monster in your graveyard. For some of the one-ofs, I run the 1 Frightfur Sheep, 1 Frightfur Wolf, 1 Dangerous Frightfur Nightmare, and 1 Frightfur Daredevil. Just all situational options. If you can go for the OTK with Frightfur Wolf and Tiger, you can go for that play. You can use Chain, which is the special requirement for Sheep, for a card that can attack and your opponent can't activate cards. Daredevil and Frightfur Nightmare, more, powerful boss monsters if you can get them out and need them for their particular effects. And for the rest of the extra deck, I run 1 Bahamut Shark, 1 Totally Awesome, and the 1 Cross Sheep as the 1 extra deck monster slot situation, since everything else can mostly be summoned in the main monster zone. You don't really need link monsters, but still a good option if you have the resources to make it, or just need some way to get some other of your effect monsters into the graveyard for you to use if they're in your hand and you summon them. But that is it. As for some of the plays, some of my favorite ones to go for with the deck as a whole rely on the setup with Fluffal Bear and also Fluffal Dolphin. With your main plays going for your search, you can send your Fluffal Bear to set up the Toy Vendor onto the field, and then setting this up means you can activate it and go for your second play. So just being able to send this card from your hand, you still have the normal summon. If you normal summon your Fluffal Dolphin, you have the setup to go for the Toy Vendor play for the field as well. So relying on that setup as another additional monster for your send, what you'll want to do is rely on your Foolish Burial Goods to send the Toy Vendor to the graveyard, and then being able to summon out your Fluffal Dolphin, which then you'll be able to use. You can target 1 Toy Vendor in your graveyard and set it. If you do, send one Fluffal Monster or Edge Imp Sabers from your deck to the graveyard, and then just being able to send one or the other for that play makes it all the better as well, because then you'll have the toy vendor in the graveyard along with the Fluffal Wings for that easy setup, and then you can use Fluffal Dolphin to set this monster up on the field, giving you the additional search, which we talked about before, using Fluffal Bear to set up one more of the toy vendor that will already be on the field, along with the recycle power that we used of Fluffal Dolphin, giving you 2 toy vendors to rely on, one for the actual effect, and then the second one for you to use with Fluffal Wings, which is if this card's in your graveyard and you control a toy vendor, banish this card from your graveyard along with one other Fluffal monster to draw 1 card. Then you can send a toy vendor for the additional card, giving you the 2 draw power along with the search for another Edge Imp in your deck to use, which you can then go for Edge Imp Scythe along with the additional 2 draws, still having the toy vendor on the field to use for some of the other discard power, or just being able to use the Scythe on your opponent's turn to get out one of your bigger Frightfur monsters. It definitely works all well together for the main play style of the deck, and that's what makes it that much more scarier, but that much more fun to play as well. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I'm going to be still working on a lot of different decks from Rise of the Duelist, so definitely look forward to it. Until then, please once again, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.